Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this Facebook Live webinar. And thank you for joining. And the webinar is titled, Adding to Your Social Media Toolbox, Facebook Live 101. My name is Aisha Moore, and I am the Project Director of the What Works and Youth HIV Center. And before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. As you will see on this slide here, this is a listen-only webinar. If you have any questions or technical difficulties, please use the chat box, and you will see the chat box is in your lower right corner, or you can email whatworksandyouthiv@jsi.com for assistance. The audio is being shared via your computer, speakers, or your headset. And if you can't hear, so if you can't hear me, if you just see my lips moving, make sure your computer audio is turned on. And if you're still having problems, please use the following call-in number, 866-469-3239. And we'll actually put that in the chat box as well, because if you can't hear me, you can't hear these numbers. And the passcode is 621-361-784. So we will also be using the chat box for discussion. So if you want to have any type of, if you want to submit a question or anything like that, you want to send your chats to all panelists here. So we'll be taking questions towards the end of the webinar, so please chat your questions into the all panelists section. And at any time, you can control your screen size here. So you'll see there are the magnification buttons where you can zoom in and zoom out. So you are in control over that interface. We'll also be doing a couple of polls as well. So we have, when prompted, you can answer the polls. And so just for a disclaimer here, we are funded by the Secretary Minorities AIDS Initiative Fund through the Office of Adolescent Health, through a cooperative agreement. So the content and conclusions of this webinar are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official positions or policies of the Office of Adolescent Health, Department of Health and Human Services, or the U.S. government at large. So before we dive into the specific content of this webinar, I just wanted to make sure that everyone who's on understands who we are as the What Works in Youth HIV Resource Center. And our goal is really to advance best practices to improve the health and well-being of America's adolescents by providing innovative and practical content that makes youth-serving providers and their peer leaders feel empowered to meet the needs of youth at highest risk for HIV/AIDS. So really what I want to focus on here is that we are a resource center where we have gathered things from across the web from other great providers in the field, and it's really for the youth-serving provider, so our content is not necessarily directed at youth, although we have great content that you might want to show in your classroom, in your community center, or something of that nature. So our purpose is to support and promote interventions and strategies focused on adolescents within racial and ethnic minority populations to promote evidence-based and evidence-informed promising practices, and link to training and technical assistance opportunities with particular support for social marketing and social media education campaigns. And so specifically to talk about what's going to happen on this webinar that you're going to hear for the next 30 to 45 minutes or so, is that for this webinar on using Facebook Live and other streaming video platforms, we want you to understand the benefits of using video, social media content to engage youth, to increase participants' technical understanding of video streaming platforms. So we want you to know exactly how to use it, like what buttons you need to push. We want you to improve your readiness to plan and implement video streaming activities into HIV prevention efforts, because even if you know how to use the platform, we want to make sure that you know how to use it during an event, and how to create compelling live content, and about the other resources that we have under What Works in Youth HIV that will help you with this webinar. And so we're bringing this webinar to you right now because it is nearing December 1st, World AIDS Day. And on that day, we know that a lot of people happen to have events where they're going to be doing events where they do video, or events where you're going to be doing pictures, right? And so live video is just one of the newest things you could do on a World AIDS Day event. So before we get started with introducing the presenters, I just want to know, like, how many of you are planning to use, like, video on your World AIDS event? So we're going to have a poll come up. So you can select, the question is, are you planning to use video for World AIDS Day events? And it's yes, no, or not sure. And then on the right-hand corner, you have to click submit, and then we will put up the poll answer in just a second. All right, Alyssa, if you could show us the poll results, that'd be great. All right, so it looks like actually the majority of you are unsure whether you're going to use video for a World AIDS Day event. 3 said yes and 4 said no. So I think this will be some great content for all of you to make the decision on whether you are going to use video. And then for those of you who said no, maybe you'll also be inspired to see how you can plan to use live streaming video. So actually, I would like you to meet our presenters. And so first up, actually, we will have Michelle Samplin-Salgado, who's the Digital Media Director for AIDS.gov, and she will talk to us more about maybe some of the technical parts of how this works. And then we're going to have Anne Rancourt from the Communications Section. She's the Communications Section Chief, Office of Communications and Government Relations, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NIAID. And Anne's going to talk to us about what it's like to be in front of the camera. So now we're just going to, if you just give us about 30 seconds, we're going to switch the presenters, and we'll have Michelle start with the presentation. All right, Michelle, you should be the presenter now. Great.
Great. Thanks. Can you see my screen? Can someone confirm? Yep. Great. So hi, everyone. Nice to virtually be here with you. As Aisha said, I'm Michelle Samplin-Salgado, and I am the Digital Media Director for AIDS.gov, and I am calling in from Miami Beach, Florida, joined with Anne, who's in Bethesda, Maryland. We were actually just together yesterday filming some Facebook Lives from the HIV strategy, or strategies for an HIV cure in Bethesda. So a plug to tune in to those. So I wanted to just spend a moment talking about kind of who AIDS.gov is, and Anne has also been a correspondent for us kind of across the globe, actually, on a lot of our Facebook Lives. But what AIDS.gov is, if you're not familiar, we're also funded by the Secretary's Minority AIDS Initiative Fund, and we provide basic HIV information. And we have, we've been on social media when we called it new media. We launched in 2006, and we've been pretty early adapters to a lot of the tools. We also provide a lot of training and technical assistance around using social media, and part of that is modeling kind of how we use it. So really excited to share with you today how we've been using Facebook Live. Ta-da! Facebook Live. So I wanted to start with a quiz or a poll about how many people have used Facebook Live before, just to kind of get a baseline of who we're talking to. So Alyssa, if you could start that poll. That's a different poll. Okay, why don't we do this poll? How many videos you've watched in social media this week? And just to kind of get a, we're going to talk a little bit about the power of video, really with a focus on the power of live video broadcast. So, and one of the things we know is that video in general, so images and video have experienced a lot more engagement on social media than text only or links only, and then we've seen tremendous results from our Facebook Live in terms of engagement and views. I can tell you one that we did yesterday has already received. We had a video with Dr. Fauci from NIH and Dr. Rich Walensky from our office at NIH, and at HHS, and it received, it's all, like a couple hours ago, it already received 1,000 views, which for us in our videos is quite high. Okay, if we could, I guess, end that poll, because Alyssa, can you tell us, can you show the results? So 3 people have watched none, 4 people have watched 1 to 4, 5 have watched 5 to 9, and 2 have watched over 10. And, you know, this is a pretty big news week, so not to be, it's not surprising. Okay, so we're going to talk to you. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about what live video is. Again, we're really focusing on Facebook Live, which is relatively new, but it's not the only game in town. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So one of the things that's interesting just about Facebook Live and live video in general is that it tends to be a bit more social. People are watching on live and they're interacting, you know, in real time for the most part. It's authentic, and it's often, like I said here, interactive. So you can see in the middle screen, this is actually, because I live in Miami, Greater Than AIDS was doing a Facebook Live with Dr. Leandro Mena. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's one of their Ask the HIV docs, and they were doing this at Univision. And we're going to get a little bit into some of the technical aspects and kind of the video crews that we use for AIDS.gov. But it's also important to know that when I was at Univision, they rolled out all their big fancy cameras and brought in someone with a phone, and they actually did their Facebook Live on a phone, and they had tremendous engagement. People asking, you can see here, they had over 8,000 comments, 130,000 views, and it was quite and people were really asking questions. And one of the things, talk about being like authentic, is the woman that was interviewing Dr. Mena, she did an HIV test on, live during the broadcast. So that was something interesting, something that she could really model. She'd never taken one before, so she was authentically learning and experiencing it for the first time. And then, in addition to that, there's lots of entertaining Facebook Lives. You may be familiar with the Chewbacca video, the mom who got hurt and was really excited about the Chewbacca mask. And then there's also a lot of networks that I have an example here from E! that broadcasts. One of my colleagues today was telling me that she listens to the CBS Morning News now and watches that live on Facebook. So that is that. And then there's also examples in addition to some examples that we'll show you. Here's some examples from our community. Youth Health, they were broadcasting live from their conference last spring. And NMAC, they did something really interesting. They often have orientation conference calls leading up to USCA, and they went to Facebook Live this year for that. So they were asking questions. They were answering questions, and people were tuning in to prepare for USCA, learn about their app, things like parking, and being able to really engage with and ask live questions to people at NMAC. Another thing to note just about Facebook Live, if you're not familiar, is that it's broadcast live, which is in real time, and then it is recorded and saved in your Facebook timeline. So even if people aren't tuning in during the 25 minutes of that USCA live broadcast, they can still ask questions in the comments, and you can still respond back in the comments. So you can continue the conversation even beyond the live broadcast, and that's something that we've also experienced. Like I mentioned, we're not the only game in town. Live stream has been around for a while. I say not the only game in town. There's other ways to live stream. There's also YouTube. You can go live from YouTube. You can go live from Google Hangouts to YouTube. Periscope is an app that preceded Facebook Live, and there was also one called Meerkat, which recently kind of shut its doors. But live video in general, again, like we've seen live TV, for years. But now Facebook Live, it has obviously, it's got over 1 billion users, so it's got a broader reach, and it's also quite accessible, both for individuals and for page owners, if you own a page for your agency or organization. So I'm going to, a little behind the scenes. So this is, actually this was today. I had another example of a live broadcast just to kind of give you, if you haven't seen one, what it looks like when you're watching live. So I went to, let me just go real quick, I'll go to the next one, and then I'll go back to this T-Rex hilarious thing. They have a live map. So in addition, you can sign up for notifications. There's different ways that you can let people know that you're going live or find live videos. You may have experienced it for someone that you are friends with or follow on Facebook. When they're live, you'll get a notification. But you can also go to this map and zoom in and find, this is an example of NBC broadcasting live, but you can find where people are going live around the world. So that's something when you go to Facebook, click on live videos, you'll see this map. So I did that today, and I found a T-Rex trying to open an umbrella in the rain, and 3,000 people were watching it. And, this was, he finally got it open. There was you can see there's two other, maybe you can't see, but there's another one here. And he couldn't get that one open. And so when he finally got it open, these hearts across the screen, you can react to it. Just like you can react to any post on Facebook, you can react. And so people were, very happy for him, and they were loving the fact that he finally opened up his umbrella. So this is kind of an anatomy of it. Again, if you can't see it while it's live, you always have this red button saying that it's live, and then you'll see how many people are watching. That goes away once it is posted to your timeline. And then we have the reactions. You can see the total reactions, and you can leave comments and have engagement here. And it was, oddly, very entertaining. So that is a little of the behind the scenes. I'm going to now pass it to Anne to talk about how Anne was actually the star of our very first Facebook Live in Durban, South Africa during the International AIDS Conference when we decided to go live. And I'm going to let Anne talk about what they've been doing, IAD.
Sure. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today. So I guess I can talk a little bit about what we have found at NIAID with Facebook Lives. Michelle, if you want to go to the next slide. I can walk through.
Sorry, I went too fast.
One of the things you have to know about going live is, like a webinar, sometimes things don't always go according to plan, so you always kind of have to roll with it, which is always
Can you see the screen now? Can you see that it says the map?
Mine is the blue. It says real live example.
Okay, sorry. Can someone make me the presenter again? I think I accidentally made Anne the presenter, which means that you can't see my slide. So if...
Perfect.
Okay, good. Thanks.
So earlier this year, there was a large AIDS conference in Durban, South Africa, as Michelle mentioned. And so we took that opportunity to launch our Facebook Live efforts. And we did 3 videos from Durban. And since then, we've done them in DC, Chicago, and here in Bethesda, Maryland, just outside of DC. Next slide. And so what we have used the videos for is to provide a recap of scientific conferences that we have gone to. There are often these big scientific conferences. They're expensive to go to. They're often in far-flung places. It's not something that your everyday person can access or even might want to sit through all of the scientific talks that go on at these conferences. So for several years, our director of the Division of AIDS here at NIAID has been providing video updates on conferences to sort of bring people in and give like a quick recap of the research that's being presented and keep people up to date on the latest in terms of HIV/AIDS research. And so you can see an example of how this was done in the past before Facebook Live. This is Carl Diefenbach, the director of the Division of AIDS, and he would do a pretty formal sit-down interview that was recorded and then edited and would last, 5 minutes or so, and was just sort of a talking head sort of thing. And you can see the views that those got. They got a little over 400 views, and this is the these are the current metrics for these videos. So at the time that they came out, I can only imagine that the views were much less, and then over the years, people have kind of stumbled across these. And so what we did this year in July was we switched it up and decided to try Facebook Live as sort of an experiment, which of course we're all about here at NIH, is trying the unexpected. And we did them live, and we did them as kind of a two-person thing on camera with Carl and me as kind of a quick back and forth conversation from someone who, me, who doesn't really know that much about HIV, and then the scientific expert, Carl. And it's proven to be a nice dynamic and has been much more, I think, visually engaging and also more fun to listen to than sort of a more formal, stylized sort of thing. And so you can see this was our first video that we did in South Africa, and right away it more than tripled the number of views that we got from the old type of videos. And I think was also just much more engaging. People could comment on it, they could like it, we would respond to their comments. And so it's just been a nice new way of approaching it, and it's one that we all really enjoy. And so we've kind of taken the show even further on the road back in the U.S. and have continued.
Thanks, Anne. I want to now get a little bit into some of the technical. We'll talk about the technical and some planning, and then Anne will come back and talk about some tips from in front of the camera, since she has been our correspondent. Alyssa, can you do the poll that says how many, people have used Facebook Live before? So this is when we want to get our baseline.
Sure, I'll let it up.
Thank you. The suspense. So again, these, we're going to talk about using your phone and some third-party apps that we've been using at AIDS.gov, but I wanted to see who's used what so far. Do you want me to keep going?
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, I'll pull it up if you could keep going.
Okay, so again, it's quite accessible, but there's all sorts of approaches that you can take. A lot of it has to do with the resources that you have, the time that you have. We're going to talk more about a little, we've done a little kind of more sophisticated approach to it, but using your phone is obviously the easiest kind of entry point. It just depends on kind of what you want to do. Let's see if this poll is coming up. Trying to kind of stall a little bit, but I could also. There we go. Okay. So this is the question of the hour. Have you used live video before? And actually, so I'm curious if you've used Facebook Live, if you've used another service, or you haven't used it yet. So I'll give you a couple minutes to answer that. I know our friends from YTH are on the line, and they have used it because we've been chatting a little bit. So there's going to be at least one. Let's see. Give it a couple more seconds. Alyssa, let me know when. I don't know. Can we see the results? Does it have enough people responded? Okay, so 5 people have used Facebook Live. No one else has used another service, and 10 of you have not used it yet. And maybe I jumped the gun because 9 people didn't answer. Sorry, I was getting no patience. So super. So this might be not news for some of you, but if you do have, if any of you have experience and want to kind of chat in some of your experiences, please feel free to. We're all about engagement and learning from each other here. So this is whether you do it from your phone or whether you do it from your your personal profile or from your page app. You can use it from either one of those apps, but you'll see the live button, and then basically you go live. You describe your video. This is also the same thing you do when you're using it from a third party, and then you'll know when you're going live. They also have, you can see here in the corner, you can change your view, so you can do just like you can with your phone camera. You can show what's in front of you, or you can do the selfie view, and you can also write and do different effects on your screen. So here's a couple examples of that. So, we've got a sleeping cat here, so you can do the Z on that. You can see here we've got a cat theme going on. You can use different features, and you can also trim it after you've posted it. That's actually something different. You can do it straight from your phone and before it goes live. So again, pretty easy access point. It's oftentimes with a lot of social media. We like to say that social media is like it's free like a free puppy, but it takes a lot of time and nurturing and planning. And so the actual entry into this aspect of the technical might not be so challenging, but it's certainly the the planning and the content and the timing. I will say, and I probably have some of these things here, but this is the beauty of being live because I have it right here at my desk. Sound and light is also something to really be aware of when you're going live. And so one of the things that we have is we have a microphone that goes into my phone and into my camera. So it might be something, if you are using your phone, to look into getting some audio. I've read a lot of research that people are less tolerant of bad audio than even that they are of bad visual. So having really good sound is important. There's also, if you could see in my desk here, you would see I've got tripods and lights and other things that you can do that you can equip your phone with to increase the quality of your live broadcast. So anyway, so that's from your phone. You can also do it from your desktop or your laptop, and that's where you use this third party. So if you have this is a view of from your Facebook page. If you go to Publishing Tools, there's you can see my mouse circling? I don't think so. No. So anyway, you can up next to where it says upload. So you can upload a video like you might have done on Facebook, but you can also go to Facebook Live, and that's where you would put in your description. It's going to give you a key that you put into a third party. Again, I'm not going to get super into the technical for that, but we do have, and we'll talk about this towards the end of the call, our virtual office hours, where we'll be happy to talk one-on-one with you about your specific use case if you're interested in using that. But this is an example. Oh, I forgot I did this. Okay, so you click on Publishing Tools, you go to Video Library, and then you go to Live. There you go. You can't see my arrow, but I did think of adding these numbers, these little tags. So this is a view. This is actually kind of behind the scenes when we were in Durban that Anne was talking about. And you can see here that we did it. That's a pretty big jump for what I was just talking about, right? From this little microphone and this little phone to this setup. So what we have here is we have a camera. Let's see if no. So we have I do think I have this. I remember I have yeah, there we go. So we have a videographer, we have a sound engineer, because we knew we did some planning. We knew where we were going to be. We knew we were going to be in a pretty loud environment that we wanted to manage that. So we had someone working on the sound, and then we had Daryl there who was working and monitoring the Wirecast software. So Wirecast software and what it does, and then I was actually in this chair. So I stepped out of the chair to take the picture. Wirecast, here's a view of Wirecast. I keep saying this. And Wirecast is similar to other live broadcast software. It actually recently added where you could use link to live stream and to Facebook Live. But it's the exact same software that like your local news station would use to broadcast live as well. So if you can see below you can see what you're watching live, and then you could also have B-roll or other footage that you cut away to. You can have the lower third, so you can show who's talking on the screen. So it really kind of ups the game a little bit in terms of doing a professional broadcast. We hired a person to do that, but I've been learning to use it myself as well, and so it's accessible for like paraprofessionals as well. So anyway, so that's kind of behind the scenes. Again, if you want to take it to kind of that next level of using a more broadcast quality. And then there's somewhere in the middle. So this is this cool little camera called a Mevo camera that you still use your phone. It connects to your phone, and it's an app, and you can still do some cutaways, and we've just put together a little kit, again, with a microphone and this Mevo, and I've got my stand right here to do that. So, and there's more and more services coming out like this to enable people, particularly people that have pages, and to kind of up their game a little bit, up the quality of live videos. There's also, go back. things like Blue Jeans. If you're familiar with Blue Jeans, it's a video conferencing software. They just added Facebook Live, like a Facebook Live connection. It's actually so new that it's not available to the public. I tried to sign up for a test version, and it's on November 21st. So I think we're going to see more and more of companies that are already using video thinking through how to leverage the Facebook Live platform. So I'm personally fascinated by Blue Jeans and similar. It's kind of like a Google Hangout that you might post to YouTube Live, but I'm intrigued on the potential to do webinars with this. You can still have the engagement, you can have people liking, and you can have different views. This guy Kawasaki, who's a social media, and that he's written lots of books and he's got a great blog. He works really closely. He was having a conversation with the Blue Jeans and the Facebook Live lead at Facebook, and so it makes it really accessible. You were having a real-time conversation, but they were in different parts of the country as well. So that's another kind of option, something to think about, another way to use Facebook Live. Again, super new, but I think it's something that we're going to start seeing a lot more of. Okay, so that's that part of the technical. Quick overview of the technical. Again, if you want to get more into the details, we've got people here that are more than happy to help walk you through that. The next section, are there any questions? I'm just looking into the chat. Okay, maybe I'm going a little too fast. I wanted to talk a little bit about the planning of, we talked about the technical, but really talking about like who you're trying to reach, what are some of your technical capabilities, and what resources do you have? What resources do you have can be things like, do you have a lavalier mic? Do you have lights? But also, what kind of human resources do you have? So you want someone kind of monitoring the live comments as well as someone behind the camera. What kind of front of the camera talent do you have? So thinking through that, like you would do for any, when you're launching any kind of new communications effort. And then also making a plan, what's the format you're going to use? What's the hook? We've been really seeing a lot of success at conferences. Is it behind the scenes? Is it live from an event? And speaking of events, it's important to have a plan B. Anne mentioned a little bit about kind of, live, when you go live, kind of rolling with some of the punches for that. One of the things that we thought of, and it came up because we were in South Africa and we weren't really sure what to expect, and we said, well, if we lose connection or if something happens, what are we going to do? We've done all this promotion. So we came up with Almost Live, and we used it a couple times when technology failed us at the moment. So this is actually from the Ryan White Conference with Eugene McCrae and Ann Hill from the CDC, and we were about to go live, and then we lost our internet connection. And so we posted a photo that said technology happens, and sometimes it doesn't. We're having a few issues. We're still rolling, and we'll post an Almost Live video very soon. And we made a little image to put in the top corner so that it wasn't being streamed actually live, but it was almost live. We were able to continue to record and then post it immediately afterwards. I think the lesson there for us was that we did this for quite a few. One of our videos actually is one of our more popular videos was an Almost Live, because it's the interaction and the authenticity of it, I think, is something that really resonates with people. So even if it's not happening in the moment, the fact that it's a conversation, the fact that it shows for us, because most of our work is around our federal colleagues, it shows kind of a more human, maybe approachable side to folks, because they're having that conversation. We see that a lot with Anne and Carl.
Yeah, and just to add on that, some different things can happen while you're actually live, too, in the background, depending on where you are. When we were in South Africa, some people near us during one of the broadcasts decided to sing Happy Birthday to Nelson Mandela, but they decided to sing it about 5 times in a row, which felt like a really, really long time it was going on. And so, we kind of made a joke about it and brought it back to kind of the topic that we were speaking on. But, things like that happen, and I think that there's people have a lot of tolerance for the imperfect. Not everything has to be super polished and wonderful because everybody's used to seeing homemade videos on YouTube and things like that these days. So it's always okay to have things go not according to plan. I think as long as you kind of keep a sense of humor and a smile, everyone forgives it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it actually became a great moment. Yeah. I think Carl said, it's so great that there's birthdays happening. You acknowledge it, because it is happening. So this came on a little lighter than I wanted to see. But I think this is something to think about. Almost half of you said that you didn't have any video planned yet for World AIDS Day. But these actually are ideas Facebook has. In addition to their blueprint training and a lot of online resources that they already have kind of baked in, they have a lot of, and we can send this around afterwards, a lot of really great resources and best practices specifically around Facebook Live. And so here are some of the things that they've suggested that would make some good content. So hopefully this will be good food for thought for your World AIDS Day activities, or if it's not World AIDS Day, which is a few weeks away, looking to the future. So what are some of the, what's on your mind? What are some hot topics? There's a lot of things happening right now in the news. And actually, if you go to the Live map, you can see a lot of these examples. People are doing all these things kind of naturally. Question and answers, answering questions from your fans and people that like your page. We saw an example of that from NMAC and USCA. Also, as a little aside, Benefit Cosmetics does a Q&A every Thursday afternoon on Facebook Live. So you can also do questions about, new products, or if you've got new releases or a new website, any breaking news, anything you want to announce. Doing interviews like Ann and Carl do. You can do performances. We actually, we saw, there was one conference I really wanted to see the speaker at, and I wasn't going to be there, and I had a friend who put it on Facebook Live for me, so it wasn't necessarily a performance, but it was from an event, and I could see the plenary speaker. So it's a way that, and YTH has also done, if you look on their website, you can see a lot of their Facebook Live that were from their last conference, and I know that they're going to be doing that again. Some of the behind the scenes, one of the things that Ann and I were talking about a few weeks ago is, and actually Ann's going to be doing that on World AIDS Day, behind the scenes for an event, again in South Africa, but Hillary Clinton's they went behind the scenes into her headquarters in Brooklyn, and so really getting to see a feel of what's happening and giving people access to that. You can watch together. You may have seen Hamilton had a documentary a couple weeks ago, and it was broadcast live in New York and DC, I think, and LA. It was not broadcast live in Miami, unfortunately, but I could watch it. I did watch it live on my phone on Facebook. Well, it doesn't matter where I watched it, but on Facebook. And there was, I was watching it with other people, so people were commenting and talking together. So you can have a watch party if you have. So that's another option. You can pre-record something, and you can also demo things. Those are just some examples. I don't know if Ann, if you mentioned, but she brought they were talking about the vaginal ring in one of her interviews, and she brought the vaginal ring to the interview. So you could also combine some of these things. We didn't demo the vaginal ring. But
not yet.
No. But we did show what it looked like, so you can combine some of these topics together. So hopefully this is some food for thought, again, for World AIDS Day and beyond. Another thing that we do, another best practice, is building some anticipation. So you can, actually we did this now, Facebook, you can schedule Facebook Live, and people can get reminders and notifications. That's something you can also do through the publishing tools. You sign up for publishing tools, and then you can schedule. You can go live immediately, or you can schedule it. But we also did an event. So we created a Facebook event around, kind of like a watch party, I guess, around an interview we were going to be doing at Ryan White with Dr. Fauci. So that's another thing, kind of building anticipation. So you can do an event. Another thing we're doing, that we do is a day before, we'll post something to Facebook, say that we're going live tomorrow. We'll usually do an hour before, and then we'll do, right at the time of. An example of that, if you go to AIDS.gov Facebook page right now, you'll see that we're going live at 4:30 today with Ann and Carl. And then we've been promoting that. So really letting people know that it's happening. They can also sign up once they've watched one of your Facebook Live videos. They can sign up to be alerted of future Facebook Lives, and they don't have to like your page. Actually, they don't have to already kind of be in your circle. So that's another way to expand your reach. So there's all the opportunities pre-post to get people engaged. They also Facebook suggests that you broadcast longer than, before we were doing Facebook Live, our goal was really to have 2 to 3 minute videos. Maybe 4 was long for us. And now we've gone up to like over 30 minutes and still seen quite a bit of engagement. And so Facebook recommends at least 10 minutes. It lets people that are sharing it join on. And this is an example of one of our broadcasts. You can see how much traffic really picked up over time. So yeah, the longer you go, as long as you have content and stuff to talk about, the longer it gives time, the longer time you have for people to join. Like that T-Rex was going on forever, but the number like really went up. When I first logged on, it was like, it was probably on like 15 minutes. So maybe even more. Fortunately, he opened up his umbrella finally, and we were able to all get back to work. So another thing to think about when you're talking about best practices is really thinking about your description. This is actually in the edit mode when you do start to go live. So we had people that were all individuals living with HIV talking about viral suppression at USCA. So again, kind of really thinking through your description, thinking through your titles, thinking through your tags, spending the time to do that as well. You can also caption your Facebook Lives after the fact, not during. They don't have live captioning now, but after the fact. So that's something we also do, is we caption them and then we upload it to Facebook Live. Another way to make it accessible. I think this might be my second to last practice before we go to looking in front of the camera, and that is to really engage with your audience and say hello, ask where they're from. That's always kind of fun to give shout outs. I was looking through some of our interactions. I saw that Aisha Moore was watching from DC, so we grabbed her. But people were in Durango and Connecticut and Berkeley and New York City, and we'll get people from Nigeria. So it really gives that sense of community. And interestingly enough, we have people, even after it's live, they'll still be saying where they're watching from. So those comments still come in. People like to feel a part of something, and so I think doing that and engaging them in that way is an opportunity to do that, as well as to ask for questions.
Yeah, that was something that we sort of refined over time. I feel like when we first started doing them, we were asking people, well, what questions do you have about what we're talking about? And typically we're talking about scientific research, which is interesting to hear about, but it might not be something that everybody has a burning question on. So asking people to offer some feedback about something that's really easy to say, like where you're calling from, or any other kind of like more simple prompt. Sort of like, we've been doing polls during this webinar, and it's an interesting way to participate and to hear, who's in the audience. So thinking creatively about the questions and the prompts that you put out during the broadcast, I think can help you get a bigger response rather than just keeping it very tightly focused to the subject matter that you're talking about. Yeah,
that's an excellent point. I did see, sorry. And then, part of the promotion is giving a little bit behind the scenes. So we try to build up some excitement. We knew we were going to have this interview on this couch. So we said, soon Harold, Philip, and Leticia are going to be on this red couch. And we tend to do that a lot. So because we have like a crew, as they're setting up, we'll say, we're T-20 to going live so that people can be aware of that. And then this also speaks to the other graph I had of how people kind of engage online. And also Anne was just mentioning about kind of refining what it means to go live. But so this is, again, just kind of shows how you want to build up, because if you start out with your most interesting content, the chances are you're not going to have the majority of your viewers on at that point. So you start by kind of warming up, letting people know where you are. You often come back to that kind of throughout. Again, if you're just joining us, this is, Ann and Carl, and we're in Chicago. So doing that, taking questions, really, focusing on your real content when you have the majority of your viewers, and then letting them know where they can find more information. and where you can also find them at next time. Another thing you can also do in the comments is put in, like if you refer to a website or link, putting that in the comments so that people can have that as well. That also serves as a resource for people that might be reading the comments and not watch the whole video. I just saw that there was a question before we go to tips from in front of the camera, and I saw that there was a question about if Facebook Live was only in the most recent version of Facebook. And I don't know if that's referring to the app or I know it's been in the last few versions because they rolled it out like the end of last spring. They didn't roll it out like across the entire world, but in the United States, it was rolled out last spring, so it should be on your app. What you might not be seeing is if you just go to your Facebook Live page, you won't see the option to go live directly from your page, whereas you can upload a video or a photo or your status. What you need to do is go to Publishing Tools. Let me just go back there. I'm not going to split.
And can you do it from a laptop or from a computer now? I remember at first you couldn't do it from a laptop, but I think now you can.
Yeah, if you have this third-party, I'm going to let you talk, and I'm going to gear it up on my Facebook so I can show my screen. You still need third-party software, whereas Periscope that I mentioned before, that you can now do straight from your laptop. You don't need the third-party. You still need third-party, but you can do it. You can do it from your laptop, if that makes sense. I'll show you that while you're talking, Anne. So now Anne's going to talk about being in front of the camera. And Judy, the one who asked that question, I can also, the app. So Judy Collins, it should be actually in the last few versions of the app. If that's not the case, we can connect afterwards, and I can help you with that. Okay, back to you, Anne.
Okay. So tips from in front of the camera. So Michelle, if you want to go to the next slide. In terms of preparing for the interview, and I guess I'll just start by saying that being on camera, we should have done a poll to see if anyone has been on camera before or done any on-camera work, but it can be a lot of fun, and I think it really kind of depends on how much you enjoy a challenge or how much you enjoy being kind of put out there in front of folks. I am not really someone who likes being the center of attention, although some people who know me might beg to differ, but so it is something that has been more of a challenge for me, and so all of these tips kind of come from that place. But I will say that it is something that is really rewarding when you feel like you're growing and trying to do it and getting better at it, and it is something that gets easier over time. So with that said, so preparing for the interview. So Michelle talked a little bit about the arc of viewership when you're doing a Facebook Live, and that all your viewers aren't watching right at the beginning. They're coming in as you're talking. And so what you want to think about doing is kind of doing a soft start. Usually, if we were to do a video or write a news story or anything like that, you want to lead with your most important information typically. But for a Facebook Live, you want to kind of hold that back a little bit. You want that to be more in the middle of the broadcast because that's when most people are watching. So you want to have kind of a slow start, talk about where you are, introduce yourselves, have maybe a couple softball questions to kind of set the stage before you get into the real meat of the interview. It's also fine to kind of repeat things as you go and say them over and over again, especially if you're asking people to participate and things like that, because you want everyone watching to sort of have that information as you go. We do a lot of preparation beforehand, before the broadcast. We draft questions in advance, which we research. I think through what the answers might be. I sit down with Carl, who's our spokesperson. We talk about the questions that he wants to answer, how he might answer them. We do sort of a dry run where I ask questions and he answers them so that we both just feel comfortable with the material and he feels like he has some good information on hand that he can roll out once the cameras are on. I also try to really memorize the questions so that I'm not referring to a piece of paper or to my phone or anything like that where I have notes. And I always kind of have the notes available in case something happens, but I think it does kind of go smoother if you feel confident in your own preparation as well. Also, it's so much easier to talk about things that you know about, both from the asking questions side and the answering side, I'm sure. And I've noticed that when I ask questions about things that I don't really feel that familiar with, it's much harder than if it's a subject that I know and have learned a lot about. So just being really familiar with what you're talking about is really helpful and will make you feel much more comfortable in front of the camera. And also, as we've been saying, kind of as we've been going, you know, departing from the script is always fine. The best moments are going to be authentic and organic, and hopefully have some humor and show your humanity. So, you know, never be afraid to kind of show who you are. And also, I think something that's important is, you know, I always look at people who are on TV and think about their style and how they're doing it. And that's great. It's always good, I think, to watch professionals and see what they do. But, you know, everybody has their own unique style and their unique flavor. And the more that you're able to tap into that and to bring to the camera what is uniquely you, I think you'll come across better and people will enjoy it much more. So, it's always fine if you are a loud and boisterous person, then you should be loud and boisterous on camera. And if that's not who you are, don't try to be that. So just be authentic. Next slide. So just some basic tips for being on camera. If you do a Google search of, you know, what to wear on camera or how to look on camera, you'll kind of find lots of lists of the same things. Wearing bright, solid colors really helps you stand out. This is a very visual medium, and people kind of make impressions based on what they're seeing. So, you know, making the camera look as good as possible, making everything kind of look really nice just does really help. Don't be afraid to wear makeup. Wear a lot of makeup. Men should wear makeup. It's for everyone. Try to smile a lot. If you're smiling, no one can really be that mad at you, is kind of some words that I've always lived by my entire life. And people really respond well to a smile. I think that if you're being very rigid or very formal or you look very nervous, then your audience will feel nervous. But if you seem like you're having a good time, then everyone has a good time. So even if you're acting a little bit, that goes a long way. Standing up straight. And just bringing a lot of energy to the broadcast, even when you don't feel like it, but just being very purposeful in your energy and your motions and having that sort of vibe is really good and makes it a lot more fun for people to watch. And so if you have fun, everyone else will too. Next slide. And so we talked a little bit, this is a picture from when the happy birthday thing was going on and we were kind of cracking up, you know, things happen, you just kind of roll with it. If you can make a joke, awesome. If not, you know, just kind of acknowledging that everyone is familiar with imperfections, I think is great. Next slide.
I think that's our.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of basically what I would say for being in front of the camera. Just practice does help with comfort level, and you know, we've done 7 of these together now, Michelle, I think, and I do feel like I've learned something every time from doing it. Also, I think it is normal to hate watching yourself after it comes out. So if you have that experience, you're not alone. But watching them after they're done and kind of critiquing yourself a little bit and, you know, learning what you can do better and then trying to work on that next time, whether it's something visual that you're just going to kind of change up a little bit, or if it's, you know, the way that your voice sounds or how you're asking the questions or kind of how you're holding your hands or whatever it is, you know, those are kind of fun things that you can continue to tweak and just watch your progress as you get better. And it's a really interesting format for personal growth. So I've really enjoyed the opportunity, and I'm so thankful to Michelle for giving me that.
So thanks, Anne. I think I'm going to turn over to Aisha and see if we have any questions. It's supposed to be like an animated GIF that says, you have questions, we have answers, but it's not moving. So I wanted to also just mention that I know a lot of our examples have been, well, they've been our examples. I just want to acknowledge that. They've been our examples. They've been the work that we're doing. They're, AIDS.gov is a federal portal. So we work to all the HIV agencies across the federal government, and a lot of our community partners. And so, you've seen a certain angle and one approach, but there are so many interesting ways. It's, I think it's like game on for like Facebook Live and what can be done, and it's a really exciting time and a really fun time. Again, we've seen lots of great reach and engagement that we hadn't seen before. So again, these were kind of our federal examples. I'm excited to see what people come up with for World AIDS Day. And I know there was just a question about if the I lost it. I think
it'll be recording our slides available. Yes, there will be on what works with Youth I can't talk. What works with YouthHIV.org in our event section. We will have the resources uploaded there, so we'll have a recording of the video, we'll have the slides, and we'll have a transcript.
And I see another question about an ideal length for Facebook Live videos. I think you don't want to go too short because you do want to, again, we were talking about that arc. You want people to have time to join and to share and to engage. And so, I would say minimum of 10 minutes. You can go as long as 90. Sometimes that's appropriate. If you have an hour and a half event, and that gives people the opportunity to watch it. The Hamilton thing I watched was, I think, an hour. So it depends on what the content is. I would say the content should dictate the length, but you do want to go a little bit longer. And I think, I don't know, Anne, I hear from everyone that we work with that they think it's 5 minutes and it's like 15, that they don't realize how long they're talking, kind of get caught up in the conversation. So I think that also speaks to the content and how it resonates.
Yeah, right, Michelle. I think it goes back to sort of some of the types of Facebook Lives that people can do that you mentioned. So if you're doing a demo and whatever you're demoing takes 30 minutes to demo, then that's the length of your video. Whereas if you're doing an interview kind of thing, it might be, more in that 5 to 10 to 15-minute range because you can only, hold people's attention for that long versus if it's a musical performance, then it's as long as the musical performance is. So I think it depends on the type of content that you're presenting.
Right. Like Cypress Hill was like they were recording from their concert 2 nights ago that I was watching, So it really does, make things just across the board kind of more accessible.
Yeah. And I would say, too, that when you're getting started, when you do the first one, it's such an unknown how people are going to respond and how, your audience may be very different than the audience that we've been reaching. And so I would just say just do one, don't worry too much about it, and see how it goes, and then learn from that and kind of use that as a benchmark. Do a couple. Treat it like an experiment. Treat it like something you're trying out. You're not committing to it necessarily, but just see how it goes. And I think going into it with that frame of mind is really helpful because it lets you refine things and tweak them to try to get a good result eventually, rather than putting the pressure on yourself to get it get the magic combination of factors the very first time.
Absolutely. There's another really great question about who are the largest consumers of Facebook Live, and I would say what we're seeing, it'd be interesting to hear from other people that have already used it or have also used it, is that it's very similar to the consumers of Facebook. So if people are on Facebook, you're providing them with content, with that content. So, and one thing I'll add to that is that you don't have to be logged in. You don't need to have a Facebook Live account to watch it. I believe that's correct. Gosh, I'm pretty sure you don't have to have a Facebook Live account to watch, and so that does help expand the audience beyond that. One of the things that we've done is we've also promoted it beyond Facebook, so we've uploaded some of our more popular videos to YouTube as well, so that you can have that, because it's really the idea of having that, that interaction and that live interaction that we're finding has been really appealing to folks. In terms of demographics, I'm going to do a little bit of research. I don't have those numbers kind of off the top of my head. Again, what we are seeing is it's very consistent with our users in general on Facebook. And we're just being able to engage with them that much more. Facebook also really incentivizes you to use it, so we see a lot of reach. So just as if you link to a video from Facebook on YouTube, you might have like a smaller reach. Yeah, like a smaller reach. And if you upload your video to Facebook, you'll have a bigger reach. If you do a live video, because Facebook is really trying to incentivize people to use it, you'll have like a ginormous reach, as Aisha is demonstrating. So yes, so I would say that that's another, it will help you expand your reach because of that, because Facebook is giving you a little bit more organic placement than you would normally get. Speaking of organic placement, you can't boost a live video when it's live. You can boost it afterwards, but you can't boost it during the live broadcast, which is something that we learned. We were hoping to boost it during, but we can boost it afterwards, which we've also had some really great positive results from.
And so for those of you guys who don't know what boosting is, it's paid advertising that you can do with Facebook, and you can pick any amount from $5 and above to be able to boost your videos. All right, so I'm just going to check the chat again to see if there's any more videos, and Alyssa will put any that are coming through. Any more questions, so I don't see any questions here, but I wanted to just make a few other comments just based on some of the other things that we've just learned about Facebook and videos in general and the HIV community and what you can do with that. So some of the recommendations that we talked a lot about, like conferences and behind the scenes, but when you think about doing your health education sessions, right? So you might be asking people to come to your clinic, or you might be going out to churches or things like that to give like HIV 101s, or to the schools. You can do that by Facebook Live. You can still do that same session. So you might not be able to have your your slides going with you, but you can still do short educational videos, and doing them live the first time allows you to have that interaction, and then it's still there, and people can come back and see the questions that other people ask, and then they can ask questions later. I think another good thing, especially for a lot of our organizations, because of the stigma and people are not sure, well, who is at this clinic? Are they going to be youth-friendly? Are they going to be LGBT-friendly? So it would be really nice to use it to do behind the scenes of who your providers are, and let your providers do personal stories about why they are working in this field, who they are. I think it helps to also engage people in your organization, because sometimes when you're just looking at a website or a Facebook page, you don't know the who, you don't know the heart behind the organization. And so video in general, but Facebook Live and other live streaming can definitely help you see the personality and the authenticity of the people who are working in organizations. So I see Michelle would like to do a quick technical assistance for you all. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Yeah, I'm just answering one question, and that was if you could see an archive of our Facebook Live. And I just was showing you, I went to our AIDS.gov page, I went to Publishing Tools, and if you go to Video Library, what you would see is anything that has this little, originally a live video, is what we, that's how we can see it. And in terms of how, you can see it, let's say that you're not an AIDS.gov administrator, most people are not. If you go to videos, what we've done is you can have your featured video. Hold on, this is going to autoplay. You can create playlists. So we've created playlists so you can see our different, where we've been live. You have all of our, anyway, we also have playlists just in general, not live, but we do our live playlist. And what I'm finding, I was doing quite a bit of looking around trying to find live videos on different organizations' websites, and it's a pretty good, if it's over 4 minutes, 5 minutes, it's pretty likely that it's going to be a live video, but that's another way to do it. But I would suggest, if you are going to be doing Facebook Live, to create playlists so that people can find them easily, because they haven't yet separated it out. They just have all videos. They being Facebook. They don't have filters for users to filter out their live videos, as opposed to me at the back end. I can, again, if I go to my video library, I can filter by advanced, and I can filter by my live videos. And I can see all my recorded live videos all at once. So again, that's if you were doing it yourself. So just that's all I wanted to show you. Okay, back to the other screen.
Okay. Am I the presenter again? No.
I can, let me do that, make you the presenter. Okay.
Okay, great. So we'll check to see what more questions are, but just a few other things about where you can go for more resources. On the whatworksandYouthHIV.org website, we have a whole section on social media tools, right? So you can go there and learn about how to use not just Facebook, but Instagram, Twitter, Yik Yak, Periscope. So they give you some great one-on-ones of what are these tools, who's using them, and what are some of the things you might want to try out first. So definitely go there if you want to learn more about the social media tools that are most relevant with youth. So we picked, I believe there's 8 or 9 of these features on our site. So if you go into our programs menu, and then you'll see social media and marketing strategies. And from there, you can look at each of the social media tools. So there's lots of social media tools, but we pulled the ones that we know that are being used mostly with youth, or where youth are there in high numbers, and which ones they're using, so that as a person who's running a program, you know how to use those tools to reach youth. And as Michelle alluded to earlier, if you're interested in one-on-one support around this, then we have what is called virtual office hours, and I forgot to put the link on here. But if you go to the AIDS.gov website under New Media, you'll see the virtual office hours, and maybe if somebody could chat that while I'm talking, that'd be great. So it's AIDS.gov, New Media, and then there's a virtual office hours registration. And what this is that every Tuesday and Thursday, just about, unless we're traveling or there's a holiday, we have people who are available to have a 45-minute conversation with you to answer your social media questions. So you can go from, I don't even know what social media is, all the way to I'm already using it and I need to know how to evaluate my return on investment. So you can go from the most basic to more advanced. We have people who can speak to you about this. So if any of you have now had your interest piqued and you're thinking about, maybe I should use streaming video or Facebook Live, but I just want to go deeper step by step for myself on how to do this and how to plan for my World AIDS Day event or other things you might be doing in the future, you can definitely sign up for the virtual office hours, and we will be here to support you, because our goal is about helping people implement. So the education on the webinar is nice, but if we can know that we took you to the next level of implementing, that would be great, and this is a way that we can get that done. So I'm just going to check the chat one more time, see if any other questions. I do not see questions. And so as we mentioned earlier, these slides will be available on our website, whatworksandYouthHIV.org, as well as the recording and a transcript. So I just want to thank you all for joining us. We do have an evaluation for you to complete, so you will also find that evaluation in the chat box. Evaluation is very important to us, so please fill out the evaluation. And if you would like to stay in touch with us, you can sign up for our mailing list. So if you go to whatworksandYouthHIV.org, you can put your email in there, and we will email you tools and resources on occasion. And then the next thing you can do is follow us on Twitter, because we're at whatworksyouthhiv, or you can shoot us an email at whatworksandYouthHIV@jsi.com. Okay. Well, we have someone who wants to sign up. We already got it here. So, Alyssa, make sure to get that email from the chat. Thanks, Carla. And so that concludes our webinar, and I hope that you guys have a great World AIDS Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.